Hello, this is Jennifer Snyder for Blitsy. I'm going to be showing you some stenciling techniques. Today I'm going to be using stencils with heavy gesso, watercolor pencils, and an artist pen. Here's an image of the products I'll be using. I'm going to start off making a basic card, and then I'm going to change up the embellishments and mix it up a bit and show you 3 different end results. Inking in heavy gesso can get messy, so I'm going to make sure I have my nonstick craft mat down first. On this card, I'm using Prima's check stencil, and I'm distressing it with Tim Holtz Faded Jeans Distress ink. I wanted to distress the distress ink, but I wanted to tone down the blues a little bit, so I'm spreading some heavy gesso over my stenciling. I'm simply spreading it with an artist palette knife. Now I'm taking Prima Star's stencil, and I'm also using the heavy gesso and applying it right to the stencil. This gives a 3D effect. The heavy gesso dries fairly quickly. I gave it about a half an hour so that I knew it was perfectly dry before I went in and outlined all the stars with an artist pen. I decided to outline the stars to give them some definition. Next, I'm going to add some color to the stars by going in and using watercolor pencils. I'm starting with the blue pencil first, and I'm outlining some of the stars. To activate the pigment, I use a water brush. The water brush actually does most of the magic. Now I'll go in and outline a few stars in red. In this clip, you can see how the water brush makes the red pencil just pop. Now it's time to start assembling the card. First thing to do is trim up the stars so they fit properly on my card. I prefer to use pre-folded cards. This one is a 6x6 square, and I'm adding a red layer and then a blue layer as the base for my stars. I grabbed an embossing folder for my sentiment. This one says celebrate. Here you can see I used a piece of white cardstock. Just like I did with my stars, I'm going to go in and take my artist pen and outline some of the wording to make the letters pop. The following technique is something I like to do when I'm using embossing. I'm grabbing Tim Holtz Barn Door Distress ink, and I'm just wiping it over the embossing. This technique gives a cool, distressed look to the project. Now to finish up, I add a blue strip and mount the sentiment on the strip. My second card option was created simply by swapping out the embellishments. I grabbed the Spellbinders Nestability star dies. Love them, they're very cool. And I cut out a few star shapes. I'm going to add some faux stitching to the edges of the stars with my artist pen. For those of you handy with the sewing machine, you might enjoy actually sewing your stars, but this worked fine for me. Now I'm going to go in and add some lace and a washi tape border. I want to add a sentiment to my card, so I have a stamp. It says hello. I'm going to use my archival ink and simply stamp it right on the card. As I was adding my stars to the card, I realized I didn't want a blue one, so I changed my mind and added 2 reds instead. This is the next option. You'll see just swapping out the embellishments, very easy, gives a different look to the card. I'm swapping the stars for a more feminine look. I'm adding a bow, a flower, and some floral berries. I guess your choice of embellishments depends on how dimensional you want your card to be. Flowers, bows, floral berries will add a lot of dimension to a card. Here are the 3 cards side by side. And an image of the basic products I started with: stencils, heavy gesso, watercolor pencils, some inks, and an artist pen. Card number 1 was embellished with an embossing folder. Card number 2 was embellished with a die-cut star. And card number 3 was embellished with a bow, a flower, and some berries. All different and all dramatic looks. I'm Jennifer Snyder. Stop by Blitsy every day for your favorite products at discount prices.